Sorry. All right, here we go. All right, so this is a video by NFHS. It is a little dry, but it gets through there, and then we'll kind of debrief. We'll debrief on it after. Okay, so it runs for about 13 minutes.
An essential component. As a referee, you need to facilitate a fair match.
I can't see anything yet, Jeff.
People, are you guys seeing?
No, it just says Zoom.
No, I don't see anything either.
None of you are seeing anything?
No, it just says Zoom.
Okay,
I can see it.
And low volume.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it as well.
So some of you can. Huh. Let's try it again.
Helping you achieve that. You need to be in control
Anything?
of the
Can
match
everybody?
without controlling it.
No, mine's just out to like Zoom. Hold on.
The game is for the athletes. Also helps you to
I can
facilitate.
hear it, but nothing's moving.
As a referee, you are in charge of the match from the moment you arrive courtside in uniform.
Oh wait, there it is. I got it clicked over.
Before the match even
How'd you get it, Kathy?
Look at your bottom of your screen where it says Zoom. Look for the Zoom icon and press on it.
Conference with the coaches and captains is an important duty which must not be taken lightly. It is an
Okay.
opportunity for the official to set the tone for the match and to convey information to both teams. National Federation rules require the referees to conduct a pre-match conference with the head coaches and at least one captain from each team prior to timed warm-ups for each match. The conference is led by the first referee, but the second referee should be encouraged to contribute to the conference. At a minimum, each conference should include the following topics. Introductions. Make sure the players and coaches introduce themselves to each other. The referees can each introduce themselves, or the first referee can introduce him or herself, as well as the second referee. Ground rules. Specify where a playable area ends. Make sure to point out how any overhead obstructions will be played. If there could be any confusion over court markings, make sure to talk about them in the conference. Please note, it is best to determine the ground rules before the conference begins and not ask during the conference how a certain situation should be handled. Player equipment. Remind players that jewelry is not allowed. Cover what can and cannot be worn in the hair. Ask that anyone having questions regarding equipment have the equipment reviewed before it is worn. Remind players that illegal equipment cannot be worn during warm-ups. Make sure that both head coaches verify that all of their players are legally and properly equipped and will wear their uniforms properly. Sportsmanship expectations. Discuss the importance of sportsmanship. High school sports are part of the educational experience. In no case should behavior which would not be allowed in the classroom be considered acceptable. Officials, coaches, and school administrators must work as a team to ensure that any instance of unsportsmanlike conduct be addressed, whether it take place on or off the court. Format. In tournament situations or other instances where there may be questions on the format, such as 2 out of 3 versus 3 out of 5, or a point cap, it is a good idea to make note of the match format during the conference. Likewise, if there are changes to warm-up procedures, they should also be covered. Invite questions. Ask if anyone involved in the conference has any questions. Coin toss. If the visiting team has more than one captain in the conference, ask which will be calling the toss. Ask that a captain from the home team repeat the call made by the visiting captain. The coin is to be called while it is in the air. If the official does not catch the coin must be reflipped. The winner of the toss has the choice of serving first or receiving. To conclude the conference, wish everyone good luck. Following the conference, make sure the scorer is notified of who will be serving first and begin the timed warm-ups. Keep in mind that at different times in the season, and depending upon the age and skill level of the match, there may be more or less detail given to new rules or special situations that have occurred. Also, your state association may have announcements to be included in your pre-match conference. We will now listen in on a sample pre-match conference.
If you guys would step back just a tad, we're trying to take this for training purposes. Okay? Thanks. I'm Don. This is Sammy. We're officials tonight. Ladies, we got the white line all the way around, white on the attack line, and black on the center. Play all the way to the bleachers on the far side, all the way to the wall on this end, bleachers over here, chairs, table, and bleachers, whatever you come to first over here. Everything on this ceiling is playable as long as it stays on your bed. And you have a hit left, basketball goals are up to that part of the ceiling. The goals on this side, they're over the bench, so they're out. The ones over there start judgment because it's partially overplayable area. Okay, so this is everything legally swept? Okay. That's it. Okay. Anybody any questions? Okay. Just remember, this is an extension to the classroom. We expect that sportsmanship. We look to you as leaders of your teams. If somebody starts to get out of hand, we'll look to you and take care of that before we have to, okay? You're going to call the soft for me. Who's going to repeat it for me? Okay, count your three. And then this tail. Okay? When we get to the 13-minute mark, you've got the first six, and you've got the last six. Good luck, ladies.
Okay, guys, I just paused it for a second here. That was actually a pretty good conference. I try to keep my conferences really succinct, short, to the point. The most important thing is make sure you are verifying that all the players are properly and legally equipped. Okay, that's protecting you so that if you find something later in the match, you've been verified that by the coach that they were properly equipped. So if you find jewelry later, it's not on you, it's on them. Okay, they did that. We probably will not be shaking hands this year, so those introductions will be quicker. No shaking of hands there. He did a good job. He was quick with the ground rules, and pretty much everything else. I think that was a pretty good conference. So,
Jeff, real quick.
yep.
For the newer officials, the R2 had her right hand in her pocket, and it looked like, I don't know if she had a phone in her left hand or what. The perspective just didn't look good the way she presented herself.
Okay, I didn't remember seeing that. I wasn't watching her. I was kind of focusing on him, but thanks. Okay, and usually the other thing is to remember first serve, one trick is, depending on your orientation of the court, put your coin in the pocket of the first serving team. So if you're the referee, let's say it's to the referee's right, you'd put it in your right pocket. If you're the umpire of the R2, you'd put your coin in your left pocket to remind you that that is the first team that's going to serve, because it's going to stay that well. It would have stayed that way if we end up switching sides at H1. It would always stay as that would be the next serving team, but we may not be switching sides, so that portion may not. But it'll help you remember who the first server is of the match at least.
When you are the second referee, you also want to be courtside approximately 30 minutes before match start time, in full uniform and with the necessary equipment. This gives you the time needed to inspect the area with your partner and make sure you have enough room between the score table and net post to perform your duties. If you don't have enough room, and if you are able to do so, move the table to allow you more room. Attend the captain's meeting, and when the first referee asks you, offer any information to the captains that might be needed on match protocols. After the captain's meeting, time the warm-ups. Since you work closely with those at the score table during the match, take enough time to make sure that both the scorer and assistant scorer are proficient in their duties.
No, you stay.
When it is time for the captain's meeting, here are some things that should be covered. You can mention the correct that are occurring on the court. The warm-ups are of different length, based on whether you are officiating in a tournament situation or in a single match.
Okay, I'm speeding through a couple of this since that was just covered. But our warm-up situation is at 20, we have shared for 5 minutes. At 15, the serving team will take the court for 6 minutes. Then at 9, the receiving team will take the court for 6 minutes. And then with 3 minutes remaining, they get a chance, they go back to their benches, and that's time those coaches have to talk with their teams. So they can use that 3 minutes prior to the start of the match. It's not necessarily the time that introductions happen. If both teams are ready, we can start introductions, but if the coach wants to take that 3 minutes to talk with his team, we're good. We allow that, okay?
After the captain's meeting, the teams have a 5-minute shared ball handling time, followed by 6 minutes for the serving team on the entire court, and then 6 minutes for the receiving team on the entire court. Remember that the opponent may use volleyballs off the court or in pedestrian walkways while the other team has exclusive use of the playing court. When you are the second referee, you should have the discussion with the scorer and assistant scorer. Consider including the first referee so you both know what to expect from the scorers during the match. Although this discussion should be brief, it should also be thorough. Ask the scorer her experience level and knowledge of the sheet. We have all heard scorers say they are comfortable in what they are doing, only to find that things aren't quite what they seem. Ask her if she understands the use of the sanction and remarks box. If she does not, assure her you are there to assist her if the need arises.
Okay, worrying about the sanctions in the remarks box actually on a newer score would be the least of my worries. I want to make sure that they're getting the body of the score in there so that they are making sure the right person is the right score and they're recording all the points. So a lot of times, unfortunately, we're going to be working with brand new scorers. Some schools you'll go and they'll have a new scorer every time. I try as much as I can to put the onus on the coaches that they need to, that if I have a scorer who doesn't know what they're doing, they need to have somebody who does sit with them to look over their shoulder and train them if that's the situation, okay? Because we cannot, I mean, we're going to look at the score as we go, but we cannot devote all of our time to making sure the scorer is doing it correctly.
That she is on your team and you will not leave her in the dark. Maybe most importantly, remind her that she must pay attention at all times. Remind her that we all make mistakes, and they can happen even when everyone is doing their best. If the entire officiating team works together, then mistakes can be minimized and when they occur, can be solved much more quickly. When talking with the scorer, always include the assistant scorer. Assess her knowledge of the libero tracking sheet and how she records all replacements that occur. Talk to her about when and how to notify you if a wrong replacement occurs. Tell her to confirm that the libero who enters the court is actually the libero that is recorded on the lineup sheet for each set. Let the assistant scorer know that she is to work closely with the scorer during the match, and that she also records all substitutions on her sheet. Remind her that she is a very important part of the officiating team and you can't do your job without her. And just as you did with the scorer, remind her that she must pay attention at all times. Her job just might be the hardest since she needs to pay attention to the court when play is not going on. But again, if she does her best and pays attention for all replacements, then the chances greatly improve that the match will flow along smoothly.
Okay, so that's the libero, as she said, the libero tracker. So what they mean by that is that the libero is going to go in. The libero and the replacement are going to go in and out with you. You're not going to notify. In a substitution situation, you're going to be notifying as the R2. You'll be notifying the table of the substitution. So you'll be blowing the whistle, giving your substitution signal, saying 5 for 15. Okay, telling who's going in and who's going out. So the scorer, they're listening and they're putting that down. The assistant scorer, or the libero, should be doing the exact same thing. But when the libero goes in on their own and comes out on their own and is replaced, you're not notifying them. You're not saying anything. So they have to be aware of the libero entering and exiting as the match progresses.
When you are officiating with an experienced second referee, you might decide to not say much. But just because someone received a referee certification and has years of experience does not mean you should skip the pre-game discussion. Cover the discrete signals such as 4 hits, illegal attacks, illegal blocks, balls down, and how sanctions are asked for. Go over the communication you expect during the match, especially on how you prefer assistance on contacts you cannot see. Ask R1 how he would like you to let him know when you're struggling with a scorer and they need more time. or how he plans on letting you know when he thinks the line judge made an incorrect call. And then, when the match starts, be thankful you can get started doing a good job as a second referee.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to go that far. As in terms of those things that were just mentioned, as a new official, I am not expecting a lot of help on illegal block or illegal attacks and a lot of back row type of fouls from you. But I want you concentrating primarily on what's between the net, and the things that you could help me with are 4 hits. So what we do is, if you see the ball go into the tape and come out and there was no touch, you can assist your referee by either putting a 4 signal up here or down at your belt. I know you can't see it where I'm doing it down here, but I like to get it a little bit lower because it's a little bit more discreet so that the coaches don't see it. Because if I go here or I'm out here, if I put my hand out here and go 4 as the R, and the coaches behind me can see it, they're going to get up and start screaming. I, as the R1, might have ruled that I saw a touch. Okay, even though you gave me the 4, I might overrule and go with a touch and let play continue. So that's why we want that to be a discrete signal. The other signal I'd expect I would want help with is down balls. If I am blocked, if you feel I'm blocked, or you see me kind of move my head to sort of take a hard look at you, what I'm kind of trying to tell you is that I didn't see that play 100% and I want help. So if you have a down signal, again, if you can see, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna put our hand way out there and point down. We're gonna bring it inside our body and point down at the line to give a discrete signal that you saw that ball down. On that note, that is always a call we can go back to. We could let the play fully develop and play out, and then we could go back at the end of that, and I could call you over and say, what did you see? And if you tell me you saw that ball down, we can overrule that and go with that call, okay? We'll take questions, by the way, at the end of this presentation. We got 2 more minutes.
If you think the partner is knowledgeable on the subject, talk to him about players being out of position and what you would like whistled. If your partner does not understand out of position, let him know that you will whistle the fault when you see it occur. Mention to the first referee that you will be transitioning into the blocker's side of the net during play. You will find that with the more experience you gain, the longer the pre-match discussion with your partner becomes. Experience gains us knowledge of what could and does happen in a match where we might need assistance from our crew. And now you have completed learning about your pre-match responsibilities as a second referee. Let's move on to your post-match responsibilities. At the end of the match, thank your officiating crew. Let them know you appreciated their assistance during the match with an earnest handshake and kind word. Next, check over the score sheet. Take the time to be sure that the correct team has won the match, that the scores are correct, and that all the information is completed.
Okay, so remember too, we do not sign the score sheet any longer. We basically turn and approve it or okay it with the scorer, but we are not required to sign the score sheet, okay? And that would conclude after you have confirmed with the scorer that we're good. That really kind of concludes your responsibilities. And my suggestion is to leave the gym as soon as possible. Don't hang around, okay?
When possible, have a post-match discussion with your partner. With the officiating team helps your growth as a referee. There are times when one or both of you has a match to referee immediately following the one you just completed. So you'll need to either take a few moments during the warm-ups for the next match to conduct the debrief, or set up a time when both of you are free. Even if you feel you had an easy match to referee, and nothing significant occurred during the match, there are plenty of things to talk about. Some potential topics of discussion are background situations, players and coach interactions, referee communication.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Sorry about the mechanical or the robotic sort of voice. That's what they provide. Okay. Any questions on any of those topics from our officials, or mostly our new officials? You can unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay. I think we touched on this last week, a little bit on the post-match conference is make sure you are holding it out of earshot of other people so that you guys can have an honest conversation, okay? That way, if you're talking about a missed call, and we don't want coaches or spectators to be overhearing that, knowing that we missed something or didn't apply a rule correctly. So you want to do that away from prying ears. Like they mentioned, you might work a freshman or a JV match and not be working the varsity match, which means the official you work with is working that next match. So again, you might want to make notes and talk to them at a later time. So maybe even talk to them by phone after all that's taken care of. Yeah. All right, let me do a screen share again. Any questions? Okay, there we go.
Rules used in NFHS volleyball. This helps you to better understand what should be whistled as a fault and what should not be whistled. In the volleyball rulebook, 9.6.7 states there are 4 instances in which a net fault occurs while the ball is in play. A player contacts any part of the net, including the net cables or net antennas. It is not a fault when a player's loose hair touches the net, or the force of a ball hit by an opponent pushes the net or net cables into the player. A player gains an advantage by contacting the floor or wall cables, standards, or first referee's platform. There is dangerous contact by a player with the floor or wall cables, standards, or first referee's platform. There is interference by a player who makes either contact with an opponent which interferes with the opponent's legitimate effort to play the ball, or intentional contact with a ball which the opponent has caused to pass partially under the net or into the body of the net, and the opponent is attempting to play it again.
Okay, so there's a lot going on here. As newer officials, you're going to be on the R2 position probably more than you're going to be in the R1 position. So your primary responsibility is going to be between the 10-foot lines. Okay, so you're looking for contact on the net. You should be watching the blocking side is primarily where you want to be while action is going on. So you're going to be moving from side to side. You're going to be moving to the blocking side and concentrating on the top of the net on the blockers. So what you're looking for, if the player's hair, and this would be a situation usually where the player will turn and her ponytail will swing behind her and catch the net, no fault. We're going to let that go, okay? If the ball, this is the hard one for a lot of new officials, is that if the ball pushes the net cable, the ball hits the top of the net and pushes that net into the blocker, we do not call that. So if the ball caused the net to go into the blocker, we let play continue, even though the player did touch the net, okay? No advantage can be gained. That's kind of easy by using the platform or the cables. If you have dangerous contact, you will stop play, okay? Interference by a player could be above the net or below the net by the opponent. It can also be if a ball's first or second contact, after the first or the second contact goes into the net, and a player on the other side intentionally uses their hands to direct the ball down, okay, that could be a net fault on that other side, on the opposite side, which I guess we'd call the defensive side at the time.
Net, and the opponent is attempting to play it again. In this first clip, you see that the outside blocker on your left contacts the net on the way down from the block. The net contact occurs during play, so this contact with the net is illegal and must be whistled by the second referee. In this next clip, watch the setter on your right set the ball and then contact the net after releasing the ball. She is in violation of the net rule, and the second referee correctly whistles a net fault.
Okay, that was pretty, you can see that pretty well, that on an overpass, you'll see this a whole lot on an overpass. As the ball is going towards the net, the setter's trying to get it, it'll bring them into the net. So that's a very, very common call that you got to be watching. And you're watching that through, you're usually watching that through the other side of the net, but not always.
Next, watch the attacker on your left contact the net on his follow-through. Again, the second referee correctly whistles a net violation.
Here it comes.
Now let's take a look at a net contact that needed to be whistled. Remember that any action by a player into the net which hinders an opponent's legitimate attempt to play the ball is interference, and therefore by rule is a fault. Although these do not happen often, you need to be ready for this type of action. Being in place at the net and stationary assists you in making this call when it does occur. The ball is passed into the body of the net by the team on the left, and number 10 on the right contacts the ball through the net. He clearly moves his hand to make the contact, thus causing interference with the opponent's play. This net contact needed to be whistled. Now let's take a look at a series of clips from different matches, but with similar net contacts. In this first of the series, the setter on the left contacts the ball and sets it outside. At the time the setter contacts the ball, the middle blocker on your right jumps and reaches across the net. Although the ball is set to the outside attacker, the net contact occurs when the ball is in play, so the second referee correctly whistles a net fault.
Okay, what I did not see the referee do in that one is provide a number. It's because a lot of these are these plays rather than they're taping. This could be, or most likely is, a USA match. So the mechanic is a little bit different. For us, what we're going to do is if we whistle a net fault, we are going to show it, okay, with the hand that's on the side. If the net fault occurred on my right, I'm using my right hand to show it. I don't have to touch the net. I just have to do this. Then we are going to give the referee the number of the fault, who committed the fault. So if 21 committed the fault, okay, we could actually go like that, 21.
In this second clip of the series, watch the setter on your right contact the ball and set it toward the outside attacker. After the ball is released by the setter, the blocker on the left jumps to block a fake attack by the middle player on your right. On his way down, the blocker contacts the middle of the net. When contacting the net, he is not in close proximity to the ball, which is already being attacked by the outside hitter. Like the first clip, this is a net fault and should be whistled as such, even though the net contact is not in close proximity to the ball.
Sorry, guys.
At the time it occurs. In this last clip in the series, the middle attacker on the left side jumps to attack the ball, but the setter backsets the ball away from the fake by the middle attacker. While the set goes to the right side hitter, the middle attacker contacts the net while completing his attacking action. Even though the contact to the net is not in close proximity to the ball, the referees must rule this as an illegal net contact. This needs to be whistled as a fault.
Okay, in high school, all contact with the net is a fault. In other rule books, that's not always the case. If you're not in the act of playing the ball, they will ignore the net. But in high school, anytime anyone contacts the net other than hair, it is going to be whistled as a fault.
As you apply the net rules in live play, here are some things to remember. From the time the serve occurs until the play is whistled dead by you or your partner, players are at risk for a net fault. Your focus must remain on the net while the play is at the net. Don't allow yourself to follow the flight of the ball. Whistle only what you see. If the net is moving and you do not see a fault, then a fault did not occur. It is true that at times you feel you whistle too many net faults, but you must do your job and whistle all faults that occur, no matter the reaction of the spectators, players, or bench personnel. One of the other responsibilities of the second referee is to whistle centerline faults. NFHS Rule 9.5.7 is very clear on rules regarding the centerline. A player may touch the floor across the centerline with one or both feet or hands, provided a part of the foot, feet, or hands remains on or above the centerline. Contacting the floor across the centerline with any other part of the body is illegal. And Rule 9.5.8 then says that a player may cross the extension of the centerline outside the court at any time, provided he/she does not interfere with play by the opposing team. While across the centerline extension outside the court, any player may play a ball that has not completely crossed the vertical plane of the net extended.
All right, so just clarify that. If the player goes under the net between the sideline of the court and the pole, does not interfere with the other team, we ignore that. That is not a net, that is not a centerline fault. In order to have a centerline fault, that must occur on the playing surface or on the court specifically, not the playing surface. That includes the line. So if you're standing on the sideline, but go completely across the line, that would be considered a centerline fault. The other part of this play is that the ball can be played up until outside of the antenna, up until it has completely crossed the plane to the other side. So if the ball is 50-50, I can still bring that ball back. If the first one is a shank or an errant pass, and I'm the setter, and I'm chasing it, if the ball is only halfway across, I can bring it back to my side and maybe we can get a play on it. If the ball goes 100% across, then the ball may no longer be played.
In this picture, the foot of the player on the right is completely across the center line. Even though there is no opponent in the vicinity, the rule is clear. A player may not completely cross the center line into the opponent's court with any body part. This is a centerline violation and must be whistled by the second referee. Here, a player from the right has also completely crossed the center line. This penetration must be whistled as a fault since there is no part of the foot on or above the center line at the time of encroachment into the opponent's court. As a second referee, you must remain on the blocker side of the net until the players transition away from the net. Follow the attackers and blockers all the way to the floor so you see their feet before both you and the players transition. In this clip, the player on the right approaches the net to play the ball. After setting the ball, she contacts the net and penetrates into the opponent's court. Her foot completely penetrates into the opponent's, and the second referee whistles the centerline fault instead of the net fault. As the second referee, it is important to pay close attention to both a potential net fault and centerline fault. Remaining stationary while the play is at the net will help you to decide which fault, if any, occurs first.
So on that last one, we had two faults occurring. We had her go under the net, and then we had her into the net. So what they're saying there is that they want the whichever occurred first. So in this case, in that case of that last clip, it was the center line that occurred before the net.
In this clip, the second referee whistles a centerline violation that is then questioned by the coach on your right. This is a very good example of a centerline penetration that must be whistled. Since a foot completely crosses the center line into the opponent's court, the second referee correctly whistles and stops play. In this clip, you see a possible center line that was not whistled, but probably needed to be. The player on the right drives hard to the net to attack the ball, landing very close to a centerline fault. As a second referee, you must be disciplined and keep the play in your view until the players transition. Whether you whistle a fault or not, you must watch the players all the way down to the center line before you change your focus. You must be able to say you saw the play occur and did not see a fault. Here are some tips that can help you be in the correct position to determine whether potential centerline and net faults are legal or illegal. Remain stationary while the play is at the net. Centerline and net violations take only a moment to occur, and if you are moving, you cannot truly judge whether the contact was illegal or not. Be on the blocker's side as much as possible. The first referee's focus is on the attacker, so your focus on the blocking side of the net helps to ensure that the net contact is correctly judged. Do not transition until the players transition. You need to track the players all the way down to the center line to be able to judge if a violation occurs. When the players move, then it is time for you to begin your transition.
The duties of the second referee during a volleyball match are endless. The more experience you gain, the better you will be at your job. Watch more experienced referees work as second referees, dissect their transition and watch their interactions with the match participants. With time, you will know and understand more of the duties and techniques that will make you a first-rate second referee.
All right. I know there was a lot in there, guys. So the reason we were sharing that one is primarily during the match, that is going to be your two biggest areas of responsibility are going to be center line and net. And then your next large is going to be, well, equally as important is going to be your control of the table and substitutions. So those are where you're going to be spending most of your time as an R2. You're going to be concentrating during play on those two key points. And then during dead ball situations, you're going to be making sure that substitutions are coming in properly and getting reported properly. So a lot of information there. Any questions?
Really quick, I don't think it was covered earlier, but SCVOA stands for Southern California Volleyball Officials Association, and that's kind of our parent company. For all of the local associations like Channel Coast, San Fernando, South Bay, they all belong to SCVOA, which is contracted with CIF. So all of our instruction and ratings and everything mostly comes from the SCVOA recommendations. I saw SCVOA and realized I don't think that we covered that with our newer people.
Okay. All right. Why don't we, everybody pull out your rule books, please. We're going to kind of skim through Rule 5 and see things there that we want to touch upon. Okay, so we're on page 19. Okay, starting in section 1, the two most important things in section 1, there are: 1, if something comes up that is not covered in the rule book, you have the authorization to rule on a situation that is not covered in the rule book, okay? And then your jurisdiction begins when you arrive on the floor. So once you arrive on the floor, ready to start the contest, that's when your jurisdiction is going to begin. Okay. Okay. Hand signal mechanics. Mechanics are a little hard. You'll find in the book on page 54. Starting on page 54, you'll see all the volleyball signals that you are going to be using. Those are one thing I'm hoping we can get together. These are hard to do via Zoom, show you all these signals, how they're actually supposed to be. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get together prior to the season, and we'll go over a lot of exactly how we want your signals performed, okay? So, but you can look on there and you can see their depiction, at least, of what the signals are that you're going to need to know. We've gone over uniform and equipment, which is different for us, so we don't need to do that. Okay, first referee responsibilities. We've gone through and actually went through a lot of that in the videos. So are there any, let's see. Are there any questions that people might have about responsibilities of the R1? There's a lot of them, and you can read them there. I'm not going to go through each one. In Article 4 on their Rule 544, Article 4, it talks about the deciding set or changing of sets. I do not think we're going to be using the change sides this year. So, and we're not going to be doing any handshakes at the net to start or end the match. Okay. Second referee responsibilities are there. You want to look through that. Big part of your second referee responsibilities are managing the table prior to the start of the match. You got to talk with your scorer. You want to talk with your assistant scorer. Make sure they know what they are. Make sure they're there. A lot of times we'll get to a situation where it's 5 minutes before the match is supposed to start and we're missing scorers. I can't tell you how many times we've been ready to start and I don't have a team and we stop the match and I put it right onto the head coach, the home team coach. I put it right on their responsibility. Coach, I don't have anybody at the table. And so they're delaying the game, okay? Okay, we talked a lot about during the set what the R2 responsibilities are. During play, again, your main responsibilities are going to fall between the 10-foot lines. As you get more experienced, you're going to start to expand those responsibilities. So you'll then start looking for things like back row attack, back row block, and then alignment is the other big thing that as the R2, you're going to be watching the alignment of the receiving team. So at the moment of serve, you have to be looking at the receiving team and making sure everybody is in their proper space, which is difficult. That's one of the real hard thing for new officials to grasp. And we understand that. So we'll be helping you with that, and we'll have a total separate session just on alignments and overlap. So. Okay, score talks about The R2's responsibilities goes into the other officiating personnel. So you're talking about the scorer's responsibility, which you should know as the R2, what their responsibility is, what the libero tracker's responsibility is. I think we touched on that earlier. Timer, there should also be a third member of the team at there, and that would be the timer. Their responsibility is to start the clock on timeouts, obviously, and also start and stop the clock on between sets, which is a 3-minute interval. Okay. Then also to obviously putting up the score as the score continues. Okay. One thing we need to be a little bit aware of is that it is a responsibility that during a timeout and during the intermissions or between the sets, we need to have a visual clock going up on the scoreboard so that the teams know how much time and the coaches know how much time is remaining. We ran into a little problem with that with San Marcos last year because they got a brand new scoreboard that was completely electronic and was showing, they would like to show videos and this and that, and those videos were going up and the clock was disappearing. So we weren't able to see the clock up there. So I think they've been able to do it now as a split screen, or they're able to place that clock somewhere on the screen so that they can still show the videos, but yet still have the clock visible. Okay. Line judge responsibilities. To talk to the line judge is going to be the R1's responsibility of what they're going to do to instruct the line judge. This year, I understand we are not providing flags for the line judges. Flags will be provided either by the school, or if there are no flags, we're going to go back to hand signals. Okay, so we are not going to provide those. Sorry, Jerry. I know you have those pink flags you really like to use, especially in October. But we're not going to. Unfortunately, we can't go with that. So you're going to have. So as the R1, it's your responsibility to talk to the lines people. You want to make sure they understand their responsibilities. You want to make sure they know their signals, and you want to make sure they know where to stand during play, and also what you want them to do during timeouts and between intermissions. Okay. So for me, I want my lines people, and what the proper mechanic is that the lines person should come over to your side of the net, okay, and stand at the 10-foot line. That way, if you have any questions for them, you can talk to them. That's during a timeout. During an intermission, they get to go sit back down. They don't need to stay out there. Okay, so I want them there. That's the official line. That's officially where they're supposed to be. But you'll see in high school, they almost inevitably come to the center of the court and hang out in the center of the court. So.
Excuse me, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Got a question, Peter Vapor here. So how do they get selected to be the line judges? Are they typical students?
Yeah, great question. They are students usually. They're selected. It's the responsibility of the home team to provide those lines people. Now we are lobbying a little bit that with the new system that maybe if we might try and get some of you guys actually to be lines people on the varsity assignments at times. So there are times and there are schools that do sometimes request lines people, and it is a paid position at that point. And we do assign our own people to that. Okay. And in playoffs, we always assign. And playoffs, usually there's always paid official lines people. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Told you this before. A lot of where you should be standing and what you should be doing is going to be in your officials manual. Okay. So you really want to get into the officials manual. Starting, we're not going to go over it. I'm just. There's part 3, starting on page 58. Starting on page 58 starts your officials manual, and it's really some quality reading, guys, let me tell you. So get into that, but being the fact that it's going to be hard for us to get together to show you visually on the court a lot of these things, where to stand, what you should be looking at. A lot of that is going to be contained within that official's manual. Okay. All right, we've been going a little while. Why don't we take a 5-minute break or so and come back at 7:05. Okay, so everybody can get up, stretch a little, and we'll continue at 7:05. I imagine I've got about another 25, 30 minutes of information at most. Okay.
Any of our people that aren't taking a break right now, how are we doing? Are we lost? Are we following along okay? We're good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Kathy, I hope you're good. You've been doing this for too long not to be good.
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah. Good, Peter. I'd like to see that. Anyone else? Let's see. Thanks, Michael. If at any point we're going along too fast or anything, you can send a chat to me privately, or you can say it out loud. Just say, hey, can you show me that clip again? Or can you go back over this point? We're happy to cover things a little bit more in depth.
That we're going to go over. So are you ready with that, Robert?
Yeah, it only took me 2 times to type it up. So
Okay, good.
All right.
I have if it doesn't work, I have a backup copy. So
okay.
This is a new thing we're trying here.
Yeah, this is a brand new Zoom feature that I just learned about it during one of my classes today, where you can take polls and quizzes. So I'm gonna see if it'll let me try it. Oh, no. Okay. Hold on, bear with me just a second.
Yeah, why Robert's doing that, my question for you is, a lot of these schools, the extension of the court lines going back to the walls, they put the cameras behind the courts or on that line, and it's not manned by anybody. What's your ruling? Because I haven't moved them out of the way.
So you're talking about if a camera is like under the basket, let's just say under like where the basketball hoop would be normally, and that's behind the team.
Right, or that, or the extension lines of the court. There's the visual lines going back to the wall. They're inside the playable court area in the back.
I allow that as long as it's their own team, because that's doing the recording. So if it's the opposite team that wants to put a camera over there behind the opponents, I don't allow that. If they want to put a camera behind their own team and it's close to the wall, I feel, and it's not causing a major safety hazard or a safety hazard, I'll usually let that go.
Okay, because I don't allow them to do it just because the kids' safety protocol, the way I look at it.
I mean, basically it would be covered under safety protocol. So if you feel it's unsafe, you can have it removed or placed somewhere else. If you feel it's not going to be much of an obstruction, don't trouble is sometimes what I say, is that don't, if it's really not going to be a major hazard, then, you got to make that decision yourself.
Right. No, I understand that, but I've seen kids actually go into them and hurt themselves, and the cameras go down. So
I do prefer when there's somebody there. If somebody's standing, what do you do, Mike, if somebody's standing there with next to the camera?
I just tell them that's fine. When you move, that camera's got to move.
Okay, so you allow it if you just saying unmanned is where your concerns are coming.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think that's personal preference. I don't think there's really, other than safety issue, safety hazard, if it's really covered under the rule.
Okay, just want to get your view.
Yeah, and just going back to another situation earlier that kind of popped into my mind, ground rules, when you're going over ground rules, make sure you and your second official are on the same page. So talk about your ground rules prior to your discussion with the coaches and the captains. So come to a decision. It's really the R1's decision is the final decision, but if the R2 has a concern about some sort of ground rule, some sort of ruling on something on the ceiling or somewhere else, then bring it up before you get into the pregame the captain's meeting, I should say, not the pregame. Sorry, Robert, how we doing?
We're good. I have the quiz ready to go, and I'm going to launch it right now. And to be a little bit more clear, the rulebook does not specify location for media. It only says that there just has to be 6 feet clear from the boundaries of the court. Those are the only specifications that are in the rulebook. So it's up to interpretation of the officials. So go ahead, take this quiz. It's all true or false. It's all anonymous. So no matter how many that Dave Sakata get wrong, it's okay.
Robert, it's not allowing me to take it. Is that because I'm a co-host, or what are you supposed to press?
I'm muted. My bad. I believe that might be the case because I have you and Kathy as co-hosts.
Yeah, I'm not able to do anything either.
Yeah, and it only allows me. It says attendees are now viewing the questions, and it says 0 out of 24.
Okay.
Right.
So,
guys, are you able? All the other people, are you able to do something? Thank you. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay. Again, new technology here. We're learning things every day.
Yeah, I found out about this literally 6 hours ago during a class. So we're learning on the fly.
Unnecessary delays. No, false. Administrative yellow card. Well, true. False.
Won't allow me to submit.
I'm starting to see.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a few.
Yeah, they're doing that. I don't know.
You have to go all the way to the end before you can submit.
Oh.
Yeah, no skipping questions.
So I take it only the hosts are seeing the answers and the percentages, right? You guys are
Yeah.
not. Seeing,
Yeah, I can see it.
yeah, I think the hosts are only. We're seeing how far you guys are getting with this, but I don't think. Yeah, it would skew the results if they could see it.
Yeah. That's false.
I'm seeing now that SCVOA wants cameras that are on a playable area or on the court. They want them manned, but if it's in the bleachers or if it's on a stage like at Nordhoff, where you can leave it unmanned.
Where did you find that information, Robert?
Yeah, SCVOA.
Okay.
Thanks, Robert.
Kathy, how many did we have today? How many people do we have?
We have a total of 28. We've got 13 mentors and 15 mentees.
Okay.
And then I also included it on my separate list for you is the C5's not in attendance. I'll send that to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Newbury Park and Venice, we could put a camera on stage because it's up above about 5 or 6 feet above the ground.
Can you say that one more time, Jerry?
Yes, at Newbury Park and Venice, across the freeway, over the grade, through the hills, past the rattlesnakes, you can put a camera on top of the stage and take filming to their heart's content.
Okay, yeah, that's how we do it at Nordhoff too, because we have that stage and it's not an even gym.
Hey, Robert, I don't know if you fully, I couldn't hear what he was saying. So what are you guys talking about?
He was talking about how at Newbury Park and Venice, how the court is set up in one half of the gym, and then there's a stage on the backside, and they set up the camera on the stage. And since the stage is not a playable area, the camera does not have to be manned.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, we have a few more people that haven't finished up. A couple more minutes and then we'll go over some answers.
Yep.
Can you send the questions back out to us after this thing is over?
Yeah.
And the people who took it,
Yeah.
see the questions again. Anyway, okay.
What I'll do is I'll share the poll and it'll show the results and it just shows percentages of
Well, I don't remember the questions now.
yeah, but then we can go over the questions and the answers. Just so it's a little bit more clear.
Gary, get a better microphone. You sound all garbled and muffed. It's very hard to hear you.
That's not his microphone.
I was about to say the same thing.
My camera.
Oh, that was low blow. That was a low one.
So I can understand, and Mike and everybody else can understand. At least
Microphone.
either that or give me some hearing aids. One of the two. That's what happens to volleyball. You become deaf blowing that damn whistle.
Earplugs.
Well, I know. I've learned that, so I wear them all the time now. This way you get to ignore the players and the coach, too, so it works both ways. I'm going to stop now.
Mary, are you in Ohio or are you back in Simi?
Well, why?
I'm at home. I think he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
I'm home.
Okay. Thank you. I was curious.
Thank you.
Was it a nice drive?
Yes, it was. I enjoyed it. Took me 2.5 days to get out there, but not bad.
Cool.
I don't know. Those on iPhones probably can't take the quiz, huh?
Probably not.
Okay. Then in that case,
I was able to.
Were you? Okay.
I stand corrected.
All right, we're gonna go like one more
It's
minute.
okay,
here.
slow driver.
Actually, let it go. We'll stop at 10 minutes, so you can see there's a clock. Do you guys see a clock? Is there a clock on yours?
No.
No, just
okay.
No.
Maybe it's only maybe that's
Yeah.
only the host that can see it. It's 9.5 minutes. So
I
we'll
see
get
the clock behind you.
Yeah.
You got 7:25 on your clock.
All right, let me see. We're going to end here. Okay. All right, so we're going to go over question number 1. Player A3 is found to have jewelry in the first set. The first referee issues an administrative yellow card. The player must remove the jewelry immediately to continue play without further penalty. Okay, the answer to that is true. And like I said in the pregame, where you are approving, you're asking, are all your players properly and legally equipped? That's where you're getting confirmation from the coach that no one is wearing jewelry. Okay, a lot of times you might want to mention jewelry, and we want to be preventative in our officiating, is that we want to be looking for jewelry during the warm-ups. So, because if we see jewelry during the warm-ups, they're not supposed to be wearing it during the warm-ups, but it's also going to avoid this situation where we would have to issue a card. If the player can remove the jewelry immediately, they may stay in the game. But if it's a situation like, let's say it's a bracelet that's tied and doesn't come off quickly, they have to be replaced with a substitution. So only if they can get the jewelry off right away, get it to the sideline, then we'll allow them to stay in there. It's basically without delay. Okay, that's only going to be a yellow card warning.
Hey, Jeff, so how am I administering this yellow card?
You're going to hold it on the side of the court that it applies to, okay? And then you're going to give the number of the player that it applies to, and then it becomes the R2's responsibility to make sure that that information gets into the book. That would be the sanctioning section that was sort of mentioned earlier in the we talked about briefly, is that all cards are going to end up in the sanctioning section of the rule book, that you're going to write down YC number 25, set 1, and the score. So that's sort of how you want to know it. Kathy, you can actually speak on that. Is that the proper way? Kathy's our scorekeeping specialist.
Yeah, it's it is administrative card, like you said, YCRC, who's it being applied to, for what reason, what set, the score.
Okay. That way we have a rule. If there's ever a question about, do we have a second yellow card that's going to result in a stiffer sanction that's going to actually be a red card because it's a second penalty, we have that documented.
So question.
Yeah, Dave.
So if there's a different player that we find out 2 minutes later also has a jewelry.
Good question.
Doesn't get the same warning? Or?
Yes, they're going to get the same warning. Those are individual sanctions. They don't carry over. Okay. Bench, when we get to sanctioning, bench sanctions are a little bit different. If a coach gets a yellow card for a player on the bench, and then there's another player on the bench that gets a yellow card, then it's going to apply, move on. Those are going to build. So those two, because the coach is responsible for all, everything that happens on the bench off the court. But a player on the court.
Here a second, Jeff.
So,
That's the YUD. A team is allowed. It's a team YUD. It's a delay. They've delayed. If there's another YUD issued, that would have to be red. It doesn't mean on the same player. For any player.
You're talking for jewelry, Larry?
For anything, you've got a delay, right?
Right.
You delayed the game, so you've given a YUD, a yellow delay. The next card in that set, next delay, is going to be a red card. because
Good point.
it's on the team. It's not necessarily on an individual player.
Yeah, they only get one yellow, then it automatically
Yeah,
goes to a red.
It's the coach. You're right. The coach was the one who said, thank you for the correction. The coach was the one he's responsible for making sure all jewelry is off. So yes, delay for jewelry, delay for another jewelry, or delay for another issue. Yeah, you could move. You're going to move to a red card.
So
Yeah, they get one freebie, yes, on the palm of the hand, and then you point to the team.
So
Okay, so then when it goes to a red card,
They get a point.
They
The
get a point.
opposite team gets a point. The same thing, red card on the palm of your hand, then you point to the team, and they also get a point for every red card after that. They get one freebie, a slap on the hand for bad. After that, it's point.
thanks. All right.
Or that set.
Yes, it resets.
Yes, it resets after every set.
Yeah. All right. Number 2, the penalty for an unnecessary delay is a timeout on the first delay unless the team has no timeouts remaining. Otherwise, the opponent is awarded a point. Okay. That is also true. So in high school volleyball, for a delay, we're going to take away a timeout if they have it. Okay. But if they have no timeouts left, then it's going to be a point that gets awarded. Somebody asked at the end, remind me to talk about the head coaches. I saw that in the chat. So somebody just remind me, I want to talk about that briefly at the end of this. The R1, this is number 3, the R1 shall signal at the completion of each charge timeout that's showing how many timeouts each team has used. So the way that this is going to look is after the first timeout, you're going to have, let's say on the R1, the team on my left has called the timeout. The team on my right has not used a timeout. I'm going to hold up like this to show that the number of timeouts used, how many timeouts they have taken, okay? Not how many timeouts they have left, all right?
And if I'm the R2, I'm mirroring Jeff. So if he's here, I'm doing the same thing.
And it's actually, the R2 is going to tell me, he's actually going to tell me ahead of time because he's going to check with the book. And then he's going to turn to me and then he's going to give me.
Are you guys hungry?
The amount of timeouts. So, because it should be notated
It's
on the
stir fry.
And then somebody we need to mute there, please.
Got it.
Number 4, the student section for the home team is calling out players' names or numbers to the visiting team during the match. Okay, the home team does not have a game administrator, so the referee forfeits the match. Okay, that is false. We are not going to forfeit the match. We are going to delay the match, however, until the situation gets remedied. If there is no administrator on site, it falls on the responsibility of the head coach of the home team to rectify that situation. We do not want to forfeit a match for fan problems. Okay, we certainly have delayed matches for fan problems and held up matches for fan problems, but we're not going to forfeit that match. We just hold it up until we get it taken care of. At least in the Santa Barbara area, they've been very good, at least, of having an administrator at every contest. So,
hey Jeff, under what circumstances can a referee forfeit a volleyball match?
The ejection of the head coach is one.
Yep.
If the head coach is ejected and there's no one to take over, then that would be a forfeiture of the match. I believe other situations might be unsafe. A fighting situation like that too could possibly end in a forfeit or at least a suspension of the game.
Or if you have no power or something like that.
Yeah, but those are suspensions. Those aren't necessarily
Yeah,
forfeits.
those are suspensions, yeah.
Roy, can you think of any other situations besides the ejection of the head coach where we would forfeit a match?
No, because what we went to is that even though the rule book states some issues related to forfeiting a match, CIF wants us to suspend matches. Let CIF decide whether or not it's going to be a forfeit or whether or not it's going to be replayed. That's a them problem, not an us problem. So if at all possible, never forfeit a match. But even in the case of a coach, as long as there is somebody available that can serve as that person, even if the coach is tossed, Most schools have somebody there that can take that responsibility, and so we would not have to forfeit the match, even in that case.
Right, but if the AD was there and the AD stepped in for the coach, we would allow that situation.
That is correct.
But there are some small schools that we do where, you know, their staff is extremely limited. So that would be the situation where you might not be able to find a replacement for that head coach. And
Excuse me,
absolutely.
Guys. Okay, Jeff, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Maybe it's just me. I'm crazy or something.
Maybe
but I'm on page 4 of the rule book, talking about unnecessary delay. And the unnecessary delay that I'm reading, penalties, there is no penalty for unnecessary delay is a timeout. That's not there for the first delay, unless the team has no timeouts. Otherwise, the opponent is awarded a point. I don't think so, guys. I think that's completely false, because there's nothing in the rule book that allows you to take the timeout away. It just says an unnecessary delay is a yud, and then a rud results in a point if you do it twice in the same set.
There is no taking away a timeout anymore that I know of.
Larry,
no,
that is correct.
It's on page 41, section 9, article 1, penalties for unnecessary delay.
We have not taken away timeouts since the adoption of the unnecessary delay penalties.
Well, no, actually, they did it the very first year, and then they changed it the second year.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I just know what the rule book says today.
Right, but I'm just saying they changed that immediately, because then they were getting double penalized.
Yes.
They were getting a yud, and then they were also getting a timeout taken away from them. So they decided, we're not going to penalize them twice. We're just going to give them a yud, because the next one gives a point. So now we're not going to take away their timeout and penalize them a point too.
You guys keep referring to YUD, and I don't know the link.
YUD is
Yellow unnecessary delay.
There we go.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Larry, for the clarification.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was.
Oh, that's good. No, that's good.
No, so it's false, not true.
Right. Correct.
No, we want to get it right.
So.
I was like, I thought I got that right. Don't make me think I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know sometimes.
Jeff, on your forfeit, you cannot forfeit a game. Ask me how I know later. I know
Mike, you know real well.
You helped write the rule.
I know. So I'm gonna leave it at
They
that.
should have. See Mike Minardi next to that.
Don't even go there, guys, please.
Yeah. Larry, I got a smile out of you. All right.
Yeah, going back to that, actually, before we got off track a little bit.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
No, you corrected him. That's fine.
That in 30 plus years of officiating, I have only ejected one coach in 30 plus years, and it happened to be the Buena coach. And it was several years ago when I had first come back. I for those of you that don't know, I live up in Santa Maria, and I officiated for years up in the northern Channel Coast it was. And so I had crossed over and started to work. My first year, I started to work in Santa Barbara, or in the Channel Coast. My very first game, I had to eject the Buena coach. And at the time, tell the assigner that on my first game I had worked for her that I had ejected a coach when I hadn't done that in like 20 plus years.
Was it Jesse?
No, it was Anita. Who was the coach, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the coach might have been Jesse.
Oh my God.
But Anita was the assigner at the time. That's
right, Anita Diaz. Yes.
Yeah, that's who I had to tell that. But she agreed with me. She said he deserved it. So, anyway, all right. So back to this.
Right.
Okay, number 5. The team is charged with a substitution when a lineup is submitted and lists a starting number that no team member is wearing for that team. That is correct. That is true. We were going to let them make the change with a substitution. Well, the one place that it's not going to get a penalty is if the libero number is incorrect. If the libero number is incorrect, we're going to allow them to make that change with no penalty.
Correct.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
Just a point of reference for the previous thing that you were talking about, the coach being ejected. It's in your best interest never to eject a guy that carries a gun. You know, he's a Ventura County sheriff.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I played for him. He keeps it on him all the time.
All right. Player A3 gains an advantage by running into the referee stand. The R1 rules that this is a net foul. That is true. Anything that's going to give an advantage. The key there is advantage.
Is foul the right word?
No, not really.
Violation.
The violation, yeah.
Yeah, that sounded almost like a basketball question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a net foul, but okay.
No.
All right, number 7, when the second referee, R2, provides assistance to the R1 on plays that may be out of the view of the R1, this is provided with visual hand signal and a whistle. This is a little bit of a trick question because yes, you will use a hand signal, but no, you will not use a whistle. So what this is referring to is if I'm the R1 and I'm blocked, meaning I cannot see the play of the ball, but my R2 has a very good place because their bodies are turned where they can see if it's a lift or a carry, anything like that. The R2 can step out and give
Oh,
me a signal, but the R2 is not going to whistle that play. They're just going to give me a lift signal, okay? And then I, as the R1, will whistle that play. And that's something you're also going to discuss in your pre-match about what type of help and how you want to handle those type of situations. Okay. Number 8, in the first set, the head coach received a yellow unsporting card. In the 5th set, the coach receives a red unsporting card. The official asks the head coach to leave the premises and gym as they have now received a yellow and red card during the match. That is not correct. That is false.
False, 100%.
Because you need to get a second red card directly to be asked to be ejected or leave, okay? So it's not yellow red, it's red that has to happen. Okay?
May I mention something? If you eject, which I've never done in 40-some years of officiating, you need to go to the CIF website and fill out a report whether there's a problem with a concussion or
Right.
ejection or something with the equipment in the facility.
If you have thanks, Jerry. If you have an ejection involving a coach or a player, you need to contact the assigner and myself immediately and at the end of that match and let us know, and we will tell you, tell you it's also going to involve a report like Jerry said, but you definitely have to tell the assigner and myself that you had an ejection of a player or a coach, because there are certain sanctions. I think if a coach gets ejected, I believe, I'm not 100% positive, but I believe he's not eligible to coach the next match. But that's not our call. That's CIF. That is not our ruling. So
Right, he has to sit the next one out, yes.
right. But if I eject Robert, okay, and he's on the bench on the next game, I don't make that ruling. I just report what I know, and I let CIF make that determination that he screwed up by not taking another game off. Okay, so that's we just officiate what's there.
And Jeff, also that report has to be done within 24 hours.
Thank you. Yep.
You can ask Sakata about it because he's the only person here that's carded me. So.
Okay. So, all right, number 9. When a bench player receives a yellow card, the head coach must remain seated for the remainder of the match. Okay, this is false. New this year, we are not making the head coach sit for a yellow card. We are going to allow them to continue to stand and coach in their coaching box, which is the libero replacement zone. They cannot come into the substitution zone. So that's basically the 10-foot line extended. They can't come above the 10-foot line. They have to stay between the 10-foot line and the baseline of the court. That is their coaching box. Okay. And 10, when signaling a net violation, the R2 shall follow this order. 1, whistle. 2, signal the violation. 3, report the offending player number. and that is true. And you're the way when you do the violation, we would like you to move to the side of the net that committed the violation. So that helps the R1 know where it came from, but it's definitely going to be the hand. Sometimes you don't have time to get over there, so it's definitely going to be the hand of the side. So if I'm the R2 and it happened to my right, I use my right hand as the net violation. If it happened to my left, I'm going to use my left hand as for the net violation to indicate which team, and then I'm going to give my R1 the number of the player. Okay.
And Jeff, in volleyball, how do we do our numbers for 3 and 10s?
Three is this. It's supposed to be this way. I'm not very comfortable using that as a 3. Okay, I'll often go like this.
No.
That's what I like to use, but
No.
Kathy doesn't agree. Go
No,
ahead.
by
Kathy.
book. By book, it's 3.
Yes, it is.
The reason why they changed it is because in sign language, that means a-hole.
Ah,
So that's why you do it 3 this way.
I learned something new today.
Hold
All
on.
right.
So you either have a small one or a big one, but you don't do that. It's 3 this way.
This is F. This is F in sign language. A-hole is a whole nother sign.
Okay, well, that's what I was told. So
Again, for the number
F
10,
is small.
for the number 10 or anything that's in the teens, we use this signal to indicate 10. So number 13 would look like this. Okay, that would be 13. All right. If it's 23, then when we get into the 20, when we get into anything above 10 or above 19, you're going to use 23. Okay. So thank you. Okay, and then there was somebody had put something in the comments about identifying the head coach. That's one of the things you want to do in your when you get onto the court. You want to know who your head coach is, because your head coach is the one who is allowed to stand. So I know you also want to go and greet the head. You and your partner want to go and greet the head coach prior to the coin flip or the captain's meeting. I always like to go over there, shake hands, how you doing, make it brief, okay? Don't linger so it doesn't look like you're buddying up with anybody, even though a lot of us, I know we're gonna know coach, we know coaches, it's just a small community. So that was there. All right. Thank you guys, that's all I have. Are there any questions?
No? Are we good?
Robert,
Yes.
Robert,
What's up, Lori?
can he go through all the answers 1 through 10 one more time?
Yeah.
You just want me to tell you what the answers were? Oh, you got to bring the quiz back up.
Can you see it?
No, I don't need the quiz. Just go through 1 through 10 what they are.
Which was the one I need to know the number of the one we changed
I believe it was 2 that we changed from true to false.
False. Okay, so number 1 is true, number 2 is false, number 3 is true, number 4 is false, number 5 is true, number 6 is true, number 7 is true, number 8 and 9 are, oh, I'm sorry, number 7 was false, not true. Number 7, 8, and 9 are all false, and number 10 is true.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, okay. All right, any other questions I can help anybody with? Okay, I do believe our next meeting is going to be, it's going to be a full membership meeting, not a new meeting, okay? And then we will have one new member only meeting, or new member and C4, C5, I should say, meeting in September. We'll have one more that will be just this group.
Yeah, and I think is the next general meeting, is it in 2 weeks or is it 1 week?
Hang on, let me look at my calendar so I don't mess up.
It's on the website too. I put all of the dates on the website.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
Shoot.
Sorry, I'm typing.
It's all right, trying to pull up.
That's good.
Sorry, guys, hang on.
No worries.
I have to get my corrector up. All right. September 2nd is our next meeting.
So a week from today.
So a week from today is a meeting for all members, not just new. So that'll be that'll be everybody. And then you have a week off, and then the 16th, and then the 23rd, September 23rd is our other new and C5 member meeting. It's going to be the 23rd.
Okay. And if anyone has any questions, I'm gonna stay on until everyone's out. If anyone has questions or comments.
And I'm going to stay on as well. So if you have anything else.
The election meeting. Oh, that's a good question, Jerry. We'll do the election meeting at the very last instructional meeting. Okay. Stop